Hi, everybody. You are listening to the Procure Smarter podcast. I am your host, Dr. Sharon Cook, and we talk about all things hospitality design, manufacturing, anything that makes hospitality human to you. We are also sponsored by the ProcureSmart Purchasing Agency. We are a boutique purchasing agency specializing in construction, new construction, conversions, and renovations. We handle all your FF&E and OS&E needs. If you have a project coming up, we would love if you would give us a try. Today, we are going to be talking to Andy Neilson. He is a fascinating man, so stay tuned.
Did you get my email?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Did you get my email I just sent?
I did. That was very helpful. Thank you. I actually had a list of things I wanted to talk about, but I always love when you send something that kind of tells me what you really have the most interest in. So it was really helpful. Thank you. Okay. Hi, everybody. You are listening to the Procure Smarter podcast. And today we are talking to the one and only Andy Neilson. Andy is a procurement supply chain logistics expert out of the United Kingdom. He owns the Twisted Orange. And to be honest, he is living my dream career. So, hi, Andy. Introduce yourself and start out by telling us about the Twisted Orange.
Hi, Sharon. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. So, Twisted Orange, I can't take credit for the name, I'm afraid. That's very much down to my wife. We are a two-person consultancy based in southern UK. My wife is very much on the food and drink side, commercial sales, MPD. And as Sharon said, I'm procurement, supply chain and logistics. I've been in this sort of industry around 30 plus years. I've worked for globally reaching organizations, and 4 years ago joined my wife at Twisted Orange, and now have my dream job of being able to impart many years of experience and knowledge to clients through consultancy, interim, training and mentoring.
I love it. So you and I had a pre-conversation, and during that conversation, I was like, oh, I would love his job. I love what you do. One of the things, the services you offer is procurement and sales training specific to relationship management. Let's talk about that. When we last spoke, we talked a lot about obstacles to changing the mindsets of salespeople when they approach buyers like myself and yourself. So let's talk about some of the biggest mistakes or misconceptions that salespeople make when approaching a new buyer.
That's quite an
ask,
question,
isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a big one.
I think for me as a buyer, when a salesperson approaches me, I want them to understand my needs and requirements. Far too many times, I've been on the received end of having my requirement fit somebody's solution as opposed to somebody's solution addressing my requirement. And the most successful sales pitches, RFQ responses, RFP responses have demonstrated the flexibility of a potential supplier solution to not only addressing my immediate need, but also add in, I guess, contingency, opportunity, innovation around future needs and future states that my particular category or sector would be looking at from that supplier's point of view. So, I think I'm well known for saying that everything's based on relationships, and it's a bit like a LinkedIn approach, isn't it? You get an invite to connect on LinkedIn. Next thing is you get an email saying, "Oh, can you please buy these services from me?" Without any, I guess, any relationship attempt around how do I get to know you as a buyer. How do I get to know your true requirements before I then sell? So that would be my answer to that question.
No, it's a great answer. And you and I have talked about this, that it comes back to two things. one, suppliers come in and they're not prepared. They have not done their homework. And two, they come in and the first question they say is, what projects do you have that I can help with? And it is a real pet peeve of mine when I feel like you are trying to hammer in that sale too quickly.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's, I'm not sure if this is going to be politically correct. It's a bit like a dating game, isn't it? When a gentleman is courting a lady, if you like, or when a new partnership or relationship is being formed, you take your time to get to know the other party, the other person, and to truly provide, I guess, your own input into that relationship. You do a lot of listening. And I think the best salespeople, the best commercial people, listen more than they speak. And by that very token, you can quickly tell if you're going to have a good relationship or a very short-lived poor relationship. So if anybody asked me what would be my one piece of advice to a salesperson, a commercial person, it's listen more than you speak.
I agree. It's really excellent advice. All right, so let's talk about upskilling procurement teams. What does upskilling mean?
I think given how I've developed my career over the last 30 plus years, I've certainly made a shed load of mistakes and gone down the wrong road. And thankfully, in lots of cases, I've had my line director, line manager there to actually put me back on track and impart knowledge and learning, and also support me in professional education, professional qualifications. So when you first move into a procurement role, a supply chain role, and I'm sure like most of us, I fell into it as opposed to it wasn't a kind of chosen profession. I never left school going, I want to be a buyer. Right. I always wanted to be a fast jet pilot, but that never materialized. But I think upskilling is both from your own point of view, so the willingness and want to learn, but also having the structure around you and an organization and people willing to invest in you. So it's, we all want to get better. We all want to learn. And I've personally find that a procurement practitioner or a supply chain practitioner or commercial and sales practitioner are best placed to impart knowledge and experience because they've been there and done it. We've all been in a situation where we're learning about stuff in classrooms, in books, and it's a bit too theoretical. So upskilling should be practitioners sharing that as opposed to just academics. And I don't mean to be disparaging towards academics at all. I'm talking about upskilling procurement in relationship management, strategic sourcing, sustainability, etc., etc. And I think the best people to do that are the people that have done it and done it successfully. So
I agree.
That'd be my view.
No, I agree. It is a lot like, it's very hard. I've heard over my career, get a mentor that understands what you do for a living. And, but I've always struggled to find the right mentor. I think a good mentor is few and far between because those people are busy. They have a lot on their plate and it's time consuming to mentor somebody. So if you can find somebody that knows your skill set and can walk you through the pitfalls, I mean, it's invaluable.
Yeah, I agree. And I maybe may come across as trying to kind of sell what I do. And that's not the case at all. But so here in the UK, we have a government-backed scheme called Help to Grow. And it's a subsidized scheme that's focused on small to medium enterprises, where they align a business to a business mentor. So I'm currently working with both Cardiff and Brunel universities and working with a number of SMEs around their strategic growth programs, as well as their almost strategic recovery programs post-COVID. Now, for my area of expertise, it's around the commercials, around, I guess, increasing the value of relationships, increasing the value of their commercial trading. But I guess the key thing is you don't need to be a subject matter expert in the category, whether it's food and drink, whether it's medical devices, whether it's knives for abattoirs and butchers, etc. The key thing is that they're tapping into your knowledge of process and procedure and structure. So I think you're right. I think it's difficult to find the right mentor. I think a lot of people mentor without realizing it. Certainly in my career, I said I've been very lucky with a lot of my line managers and directors who saw it as almost subconsciously their role to mentor me in terms of my own personal development and the development of myself within the team and the function. So, but it does take time and it is an investment. But as a leader, you should be mentoring your teams. You should be mentoring your functional heads, because ultimately then they need to cascade all of this activity down through their teams. Otherwise, you're just going to do the same thing tomorrow that you did yesterday, and you're going to get the same results. So something has to change positively. And mentors can come in many shapes and forms. And like I said, the good thing about it is sometimes somebody on the outside is a better mentor because there's no restrictions to what they view as your opportunity. Right. Whereas somebody, say within business travel or a certain commodity, may come in with preconceived ideas, well, that's not possible because we know we can't do that in the industry. So if anybody listening to this or watching this is looking for a mentor, don't be afraid to be slightly radical and approach somebody that you respect as opposed to somebody you think is an industry leading figure. You also need to be, as a mentee, not closed off to accepting an advice, because having a mentor can almost be like a tick in the box, sadly, for some people. And I think if you're going to gain true benefit from it, you've got to go into it extremely open-minded and open to constructive criticism about how that mentor would see you benefiting from A, B, and C.
Right. It comes back to a point that you made a little bit earlier, is a good in my opinion, a good purchasing agent is not afraid to say, I'm still learning. If you're not learning something new about procurement and supply chain and logistics, I mean, the whole world, when somebody comes at me with this mentality that, oh, I've been doing it for 20 plus years, I know all the ropes, I know all the tricks. And I'm like, listen, if you're not learning something new every day, what are you doing? So a good mentor will push you to learn something new.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it goes back to that communication / relationship piece, doesn't it? You have to be open to that learning. You have to recognize the fact that you're probably never going to get to where you think the maximum level is. I'm 57 and I'm still learning. I've been doing this so many years that you would think that there's pretty much everything has come my way. But no, because the world changes.
Right.
The sectors change, the categories change.
Technology changes.
Exactly right. Yeah, who'd have thought 20 years ago that we'd have been sat here now discussing this in this kind of media format?
Right.
And I think that the best business people are those who are adaptable, agile, flexible, but most importantly, recognize the fact that they don't know everything.
Right, I agree. Okay, so let's talk about innovation being driven by procurement within the supply chain. What kind of innovations are we talking about? What do you see happening?
I think for far too long, procurement practitioners, organizations have seen the need, if you like, to trigger innovation one way. So they go to market saying, I want innovative solutions around this category. And you can kind of see the suppliers almost roll their eyes and go, really? Where I think procurement driving innovation is more around the listening piece that we discussed just now. So it's look, we want to do something like this. We want to drive, move in this direction. So innovation is about not being overly prescriptive to your supply base. It's giving your supply base the platform and the opportunity to bring innovation back into you. So you become a facilitator. You become almost that custodian of progressing those ideas and thought process almost through, I heard the word ideation a while ago. I'm not sure if it's a real word or whether it's just somebody made it up to see if I'd ever use it, but it is that little funnel, if you like, of all the ideas being churned through from the suppliers who, let's face it, see the issues on a day-to-day basis of whether it's making cars, ceramics, books, laptops, phones. So they know the intricacies and the issues around how far innovation can go. And I think innovation is usually limited by the buying organization.
I agree.
Because they don't.
Let me see if I get this right. I think I understand what you're saying, and I just want to kind of put it in my world. When I reach out to a vendor and here is my set of specs. This is what I think I have to have, and this is what I think I need to pay for it. You tell me how you can get me there. And the vendor that can come back to me and say, listen, we have a new process, we have a new technology, we have a new material. Here's how we can do it if you're open to something new. That's what I think. And then I take that to my next client and be like, listen, I know of a new material. I know of a new process. That's when I think of procurement driving the innovation piece.
I think, I think in summary, it's pretty much aligned to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that the issue I see and have seen, and I've been part of the problem myself, is buyers don't like risk. So we have our requirements, we want to be different, we want to bring innovation to the market, but we want to do it in a very safe manner. And the two don't correlate at times. Who'd have thought, again, electric cars, who came up with that? Which organization said, yeah, we can make this work? Who in that organization had the foresight and the guts to go, do you know what, we're gonna be out there a bit left field, and we will lead and people will follow, as opposed to, well, I'm not so sure. No, let's just stick to internal combustion because that's a lot safer and we can guarantee our revenue. So, perhaps cars is a bad example, but we see innovation every day, and innovation is a result of not just people coming up with the ideas, but people in organizations allowing those ideas to come to fruition. It's, as a procurement practitioner, I take the responsibility very seriously not to be a stopper, unless somebody says, I tell you what, we could go to the moon and put a banner up there and advertise your business, because you get into realms of ridiculousness. But for the ideas that have been presented, that are thought through, that whilst have a degree of risk, the risk is known and therefore able to be mitigated to a large degree. And I think it's those joined up ideas, that joined up innovation. No ideas come to fruition just through a single party. It is through collaboration. And that's what excites me about procurement, to be honest with you. I mean, you know, I got to be honest, I think being a salesperson is probably the most difficult job in the world. And being a buyer is the easiest job in the world. But it's not just sales, or it's not just the inventors that are able to drive that revenue, drive that innovation. Procurement has its part to play. And like I said, that's the exciting part of being a procurement practitioner for me.
Yeah. So it brings me back to this idea about, let's say 20 years ago, hotel rooms had carpet. Every hotel room had carpet. That was the standard. And then somebody put LVT flooring in a hotel room, and the whole industry went crazy. Oh my God, LVT flooring. What's the noise going to be like? What's the water? It was a whole thing. And now it's a standard. Half hotel rooms have LVT in it. And I remember when that came out, it was this whole uproar of like, are we doing that? Are we going to put, LVT in our guest rooms? So it's very exciting to be a buyer. I love to see new things like that come out. But you're right, we are very risk adverse. We do not want to be the first one to do it.
No, not typically, unless you are people like, I think of Apple because I'm sat in front of a Mac, but who are renowned for being the first, who want to be the first. Lots of other normal organizations, you're absolutely right, they much prefer to be second, while somebody has taken all the risks, had all the pain, and then they can jump in, on the lessons learned ticket, I suppose. But yeah, so somebody had to make that first decision about the flooring in hotel rooms.
Right.
And that's a brave procurement stroke commercial stroke finance, whoever it was, person. But they saw the fact that innovation would add value as opposed to introduce risk.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk. So one of the things that you talk about is looking at procurement as a value added function and not as a cost function. And I have heard, I've been in this industry a little over 22 years. I've heard everything. And one of the things I've heard is, procurement costs money. Procurement doesn't make money. They're not revenue generating. We don't invest in our procurement departments because they do not make us money. And I would love to combat that thinking that we are of value to the bottom line.
Yeah, this is an area I feel quite strongly about. I do think, and I do feel that procurement is a value add function. We've discussed the innovation funnel, for example, and how procurement can facilitate real bottom line value to an organization. I think that the simplest way I look at it is it's easier to save money and add value than it is to simply go and sell more. So if you increase your value, decrease the overall costs, and I'm talking about costs within the supply chain, not just to your buying organization, then everybody in the supply chain improves their margin and increases the value within that. So it's not necessarily reducing the cost of the product, it's reducing the complexity, it's reducing the waste, it's reducing the supply chain miles, for example. And I think perhaps one of the great examples of cost focus is the offshoring of products to low-cost countries. Now low-cost countries are perhaps not so low cost, and it's a question of onshoring, onboarding, nearshoring. There's many.
I know there's a tagline for everything.
But actually, it's about local sourcing, and procurement can add value by doing the calculations, doing the sums, and also ensuring that you're taking responsibility for your local, regional sourcing, your sustainability credentials, your positive impact on the environment. I think if anybody says to me, well, procurement's just about cost, my counter is, well, you try running a business without procurement or supply chain or logistics, because you can go and sell as much as you want, but if you can't buy it and you can't ensure continuity of supply within your supply chain, then you can have the best salespeople in the world. You ain't going to get very far. So I think we all have a part to play in business, in commerce, whether it's sales, finance, marketing, procurement. And if procurement wasn't that important, why do we have chief procurement officers? Right. Why do we have SVP procurement sat on global businesses? Because organizations see the value of having that procurement piece, because it isn't just a cost reduction piece, because anybody can go and scream and shout at suppliers and get an extra 2 or 3 cents off a widget. But if you keep going back, eventually you have no suppliers to talk to, because you'll either put them out of the business or they're talking to procurement people who are listening and working with them as true trading partners. So I don't think any job is easy. I don't think any job is either more or less important than another, whether it be sales or procurement. Just so happens that I'm a procurement person, and I feel very strongly it is a value add, but it's in combination with other functions and other people inside and outside of the organization, up and down the supply chain.
Right. And I do think in the last, you tell me, maybe 5-10 years, procurement is getting a lot more love. You know, people are seeing the value of having a purchasing professional. Somebody asked me the other day, are you a buyer? Are you purchasing or procurement? And I had to think about that for a minute. And I was like, oh, well, what's the division? What does a purchasing agent do versus a procurement specialist do? And so I think people are thinking about, what does procurement expertise bring to the table?
Yeah, I think the demarcation line between purchasing and procurement used to be quite prominent. So this is just a personal view. I think people regarded purchasing as more or less the transactional process, and procurement more around the strategic sourcing, end-to-end supply chain. And I think procurement sounds a bit posher than purchasing. So I think that,
it does.
that was a differentiation. To me, it's all the same. I do think that there is more awareness of what procurement do. I think in the last couple of years, supply chain procurement, when it comes to PPE or vaccines or whatever it may be, a lot of people are now seeing what procurement supply chain do on a global basis that haven't had exposure to it before.
Right.
But yeah, certainly 20 years ago, the picture was very, very different. And it was seen as quite transactional, cost-driven. Whereas I think the successful organizations, if you look at a global map of industries or sectors, then if you see the success stories, I'd probably guarantee that those successful businesses have all got senior procurement practitioners driving that value, driving their suppliers for mutual benefit. And there's always going to be some dodgy ones out there, isn't there? There's always going to be procurement people who want to just focus on cost, and that's fine. I'm not saying it's wrong, but I think the people who are making the biggest difference in procurement world are value-focused practitioners.
I agree. Okay, Andy, I have another question for you. When I was researching you, I was on your LinkedIn, and I noticed that in your description on LinkedIn, you have a hashtag of mental health.
Yes.
And I thought that was interesting. And if you don't mind me asking, I'd like to know why you have that hashtag and what does that mean to you?
I don't think there's any great secret to those who know me. So I left corporate world due to having poor mental health. And I think I've used the phrase a bit now. I think my breakdown only came as a surprise to me. And at the end of 2017, start of 2018, I had to take a view, if you like, about my working ways. And since then, I've tried to be as vocal and as open as I can. The fact that I suffer from poor mental health. So I've been diagnosed with depression and severe anxiety disorder. I've had incredible care and support, both from family and from the National Health Service here in the UK. I now recognize majority of my issues, and aside from the medication, I have coping mechanisms for when things aren't quite right. I've also been diagnosed with OCD, so I'm very black or white. So mental health is very grey because there's no logic to it.
Right.
And that frustrates the hell out of me because I want to make it logical. I want to have straight lines, and it's not.
Right.
But I know when I was really struggling, I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to talk to. And over the last 4 years, I've been working with, we have a charity here in the UK called Mind, who support people like me, because we lose too many people through suicide. We lose too many people through what is a mixture of issues around whether it's chemical imbalance in the brain, whatever the reason for it. You know, we've all got mental health, and some of it in some of us is not as good as in other people. And the thing for me at the time was, you know, in my particular case, it was used against me. But saying that, lots of people can't speak up because they're too afraid of what will happen. And so in my own small way, you know, I'm no celebrity. I'm not a football star or a reality TV star. But in my own small way, I try and help where I can. All my charity fundraising is focused on mental health. And yeah, this is what I didn't realize you were going to ask me this. So this is completely unprompted, but I use mood cards as well. So when I'm feeling anxious, then I have the cards laid out in front of me because it has my countering activities on the back of the cards. And for me, and it's very individual, for me it works. Like I said, it's not something that goes away. It's something you manage. And I think the stats are, you know, 1 in 4 of us will suffer during our lifetime. It's how we cope with it. And the other thing I learned is that whilst I had amazing support, and I'm feeling extremely lucky and privileged to have that support, the families of people like me don't have support because they don't know what to do.
Right.
There isn't anybody around to go, well, when your husband does this and this, then actually it means that. And that's quite tough for me personally. But I do think it's, you know, it's always good to talk. I think if anybody out there listening is struggling, please do talk to somebody. I don't want to kind of generalize it based on my own experiences, but I found it very, very, very difficult. And I'm extremely grateful like I said before. So, and I guess determined not to hide again. And you've got to, we're not here very long in perspective, and to have somebody's life cut short because of something that could possibly be avoided just by talking to somebody, then I think it's beholden upon us to at least try and help as best we can in our own small way. So that's quite a long-winded answer to your question.
It's
Sorry,
a good answer. So let me share with you. I did not know I was going to ask that question until I saw your hashtag.
Okay.
And the reason your hashtag motivated me to ask is because I myself am diagnosed with manic depressiveness. And I don't talk about it with anybody because I don't think you don't feel like anybody's going to understand, and you don't want to be stigmatized, and you don't want people to feel like you can't do your job. And I'm very grateful to medication and therapy and people like yourself who come out and say, 1 in 4, you're not alone. A lot of us are struggling out there. Even if you take the pandemic away, for me, it's a brain chemical imbalance. Something in my brain just says, woo, you are very happy or you are very sad. And it's great to have somebody like you that I respect that comes out and look, I'm going to get teary-eyed, that says 1 in 4, there's a lot of us out there, and you can be productive and you can be successful and you can work in business and still struggle with these things. So thank you.
No, you're more than welcome. Like I said, we are all individuals, but by the same token, there should be a collective responsibility that we feel for each other. And it's very easy in business, with the pressures of business, to react negatively towards somebody who may be having a bad day, because let's be honest, we don't know what's going on behind people and their stories and the stresses that they're facing. And I've lost patience with people, and I've been impatient for results, and actually it's about that respect, isn't it? And going, whoa, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I'm out of order here. We should be here to help each other. We should be here to respect each other, regardless of who we are, what we do, where we're positioned in life. It's irrelevant. It's make the most of the life you've got, but help others enjoy theirs as well. There's no need for rudeness or arrogance or contempt or all the other negative things that we see on a sadly daily basis. So if there's one person listening that goes, oh yeah, I'll talk to somebody, then that's great. That's a massive success. So
thanks for doing that. That's huge. Thanks. All right, Andy, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much for being a guest. Thanks for being so open. Thanks for talking to me about the Twisted Orange. I love the name. I think it's fantastic. Kudos to your wife for coming up with it. And I hope that we can do this again.
Absolutely, yeah. I think that the one thing I love talking about is procurement, well, apart from golf. Please, let's do this. And if anybody's got any suggestions or subjects that they'd like to also cover, then perhaps you want to get in touch with Sharon and we can pick up on that as well. So
yeah, we would love to hear what you have to say out there. If you have some topics, listen, I'll talk all day about mental health. Obviously, it's something that's near and dear to me, but I can talk procurement. I can talk your ear off. So if we have some listeners out there who have some subjects, we will do this again.
Absolutely. I'll look forward to it.
Okay. Have a great day.
And you, Sharon. Thank you very much indeed.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. Wow. That went crazy, didn't it? That was Andy Neilson from the Twisted Orange out of the UK. And it was a lovely conversation about procurement and an unexpected conversation about mental health. If you have a topic that you would like me to cover or a guest you would like me to have on, please reach out to me. And also, if you would like to be a guest, if you have a story, if you are in the hospitality industry, service industry, design, architects, construction, anything in the hospitality industry at all, and you have an interesting story, I would love to talk to you. I would love to share your story. So reach out to me. Also, if you need procurement services, please think of us. We will do an amazing job for you at a really good price point. We will blow you out of the water with what we're capable of. Please listen to the podcast and support us, and we will see you next Tuesday. Bye-bye, everybody.